Good day to each and everyone. I am Jurian Tita Barada, 20 years old, a second-year college student of Cotabato State University, taking Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. In this video presentation, I am going to have a discussion about the Qualifications Framework, specifically the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework. However, before proceeding to the formal discussion, let us have first our learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to recognize the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework as well as the Philippine Qualifications Framework. Discuss the importance of these qualifications framework and assess their knowledge by answering the summative assessment provided. What is Qualifications Framework? A qualifications framework is a formalized structure in which learning level descriptions and qualifications are used in order to understand learning outcomes. Meaning, qualifications framework allows for the ability of the development, assessment, and improvement of the quality education in a number of contexts. These are typically found at the national, regional, and international level. What is the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework? The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework is a common reference framework which enables comparisons of education qualifications across participating ASEAN members. What are the objectives of the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework? The objectives of ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework are: support recognition of qualifications, encourage the development of qualifications frameworks that can facilitate lifelong learning, encourage the development of national approaches to validating learning gained outside formal education, promote and encourage education and learners' mobility, support workers' mobility, improve understanding of qualification systems, and as well as promote higher quality qualification systems. The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Frameworks develop based on agreed understanding between ASEAN member states. By design, it aims to have a neutral influence on national qualifications frameworks of participating ASEAN member states. They are invited for the participation in ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework on voluntary engagement and implementation. Moreover, engagement in ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework doesn't require changes to national qualification systems. ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework respects the specific structures and processes of participating ASEAN member states in maintaining their responsiveness to the national priorities. The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework was endorsed by the ASEAN Economic Ministers in August 2014, the ASEAN Education Ministers in September 2014, and the ASEAN Labor Ministers through ad referendum from November 2014 to May 2015. The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework Governance and Structure document was endorsed by ASEAN Labor Ministers and ASEAN Education Ministers in May 2016 and ASEAN Economic Ministers in August 2016 and provided the basis for the establishment of the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework Committee for the implementation of the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework. Referencing to ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework. Referencing is a process that establishes the relationship between the 8th-level ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework and national qualifications frameworks or qualification systems of participating ASEAN member states. The number of levels a national qualifications framework may differ and typically between 8 and 9 levels. ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework would therefore improve the understanding of the qualification of each level of a national qualifications frameworks or qualification systems of the participating ASEAN member states. ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework also works as an information tool in the facilitation of the recognition of qualifications and does not replace the decision-making process of the competent authorities in each ASEAN member states. In the long term, ASEAN qualifications reference frameworks could potentially serve as a meta framework in supporting the recognition of its levels against other regional qualifications framework and interregional recognitions. Interested ASEAN member states can choose to begin referencing according to their readiness. How does ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework support National Qualifications Framework? Recognizing the difference in the development stages, with some ASEAN member states having established comprehensive national qualifications frameworks, others with sectoral frameworks, and some do not yet have any. ASEAN Qualifications Reference Frameworks aim to support and enhance ASEAN member states' national qualifications frameworks or national qualification standards by offering a mechanism in the facilitation of comparison, transparency, and higher quality qualification systems. ASEAN Qualifications Reference Frameworks is underpinned by a set of agreed quality assurance principles and standards and requires participating ASEAN member states in describing their education and training quality assurance systems. Complementing mutual recognition arrangements. ASEAN mutual recognition arrangements aims to facilitate the mobility of professionals within ASEAN through the recognition of qualifications, experience obtained, requirements met, or licenses or certifications. These are granted by the relevant authorities in an ASEAN member states for mutual recognition by other ASEAN member states. The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework complements and supports this process by enabling a broad comparison of qualifications across ASEAN member states. So, that's all for this video presentation. Thank you for listening and watching.
Good day and Assalamualaikum. I am Sandra A. Sanda and I will be discussing the Philippine Qualifications Framework. Before we proceed, let us first define what is a qualification. So a qualification is a package of competencies describing a particular job or job role or a particular function or job role existing in an economic sector. So basically, when we say qualification, it refers to the competencies, the attributes, or requirements a person must have to be able to be fit in a certain job role or position. It covers the work activities required to undertake a particular job role. So what is Philippine Qualifications Framework? So Philippine Qualifications Framework or PQF is a national policy that describes the levels of educational qualifications and set the standards for qualification outcomes. So PQF refers to the policy that the government made to describe what qualifications or requirements or the standards a person must meet to be able to be fit in a certain job role. So it is competency-based. Competency-based is a term used to describe a way of judging employees or people who are competing for a job by looking at the particular skills that they have. In a competency-based approach the recruitment or potential recruits have to demonstrate how their experience is suitable in a number of predetermined competencies. Second, the Philippine Qualification Framework is labor market. And third, it is assessment-based qualification recognition. So, this PQF, according to the Labor and Employment Secretary Rosalinda Baldos, the PQF will boost the national and international confidence of workers because of the quality of teaching, assessment, and the valid awarding of officially recognized qualification in the country. The next one is, who is this PQF made for? Who will benefit from it? So the PQF is made beneficial to the following. First is for the person. The PQF encourages lifelong learning, allowing the person to start at the level that suits him and then build up from his qualifications as his needs and interests develop and change over time. And it certificates and licenses recognized by the government. The second one is the PQF is made for the employers or beneficial for the employers. It assures that standards and qualifications are consistent to job requirements and demand, and it provides common understanding on standards, qualifications, and labors. The third one is for the providers. So the PQF ensures transparency in training provision, conformance to standards and preciseness of accountability for learning outcomes, and it provides common understanding of policies and guidelines on credit transfers, articulation, portability, bridges, pathways, and RPL. And for the last is for the authorities. PQF provides the standards, taxonomy, and typology of qualifications as basis for granting approvals to the providers and stakeholders, and it harmonizes the qualifications across the Philippines. Next question is, when was the Philippine Qualifications Framework made? So accordingly, the PQF was made when the then President Benigno S. Aquino III signed the Order Number 83 dated October 1, 2012, entitled The Institutionalization of Philippine Qualifications Framework. Under this order, this order is made up of several sections. The first one, or the section 1, is the establishment of the Philippine Qualification Framework. So, accordingly, the Philippine Qualifications Framework is hereby established with the following objectives. The first one is to adopt national standards and levels of outcomes of education. Basically, the PQF aims to make workers to meet the national standard set for the specific job. The next is to support the development and maintenance of pathways and equivalencies which provide access to the qualifications and assist people to move easily and readily between the different education and training sectors and between these sectors and the labor market. The third objective is to align the PQF with international qualifications framework to support the national and international mobility of workers through the increased recognition of the value and comparability of Philippine qualifications. This means that through PQF, Filipino workers will have a better chance in the international labor market. The alignment of the Philippine qualification to international standards will support the mobility of workers here and abroad. And in addition, the PQF will open up opportunities for skilled labor professionals to land in high-paying careers available outside of the country. Next section is the Section 2, the Philippine Qualifications National Coordinating Committee is hereby created to be chaired by the Secretary of Department of Education with the following members: the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or also known as the TESDA, the Commission of Higher Education, or the CHED, Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE, and Professional Regulation Commission, PRC. The next one is Section 4, or the participation of the industry sector. According to this, industry sector representatives shall be consulted and tapped in the detailing and application of the PQF to ensure alignment of educational outcomes to job requirements. And in Section 5, or the level descriptors, the PQF shall incorporate an 8-level qualification descriptors defined in the terms of the following: the knowledge, skills and values, application, and degree of independence. The Section 6 of this order states that the DepEd, TESDA, and SHED shall make detailed descriptors of each qualification level based on learning standards in basic education, competency standards or training regulations, and the policies and standards of higher education academic programs. This means that they shall jointly implement national pilot programs to determine its relevance and applicability in all levels of education. In Section 7, or the review of licensure examination, states that the Philippine Regulation Commission, or the PRC, as well as the Commission on Higher Education shall review the framework and contents of the licensure examinations of each of the professions and align them with that of the PQF. This implies that the PRC and TRED are the ones that are assigned to check or review the contents of the licensure examination to make sure that the contents of that is aligned with that or is aligned with what is prescribed by the PQF. And lastly, under the Section 8, or the Technical Secretariat, states that to ensure efficient and effective implementation, DepEd, TESDA, and CHED shall organize from their present staff complements a permanent technical secretariat. The last topic under this lesson is about the implementation of rules and regulations. It is said that the PQF is signed by the chairman and all the members on December 17, 2012. Again, the chairman of the PQF, or the Philippine Qualifications Framework, is the DepEd Secretary, and its members are the TESDA, the CHED, DOLE, and PRC. So it is submitted to the Office of the President on December 21, 2012, and that it is published in the Philippine Star on December 28, 2012, and in the Office of Gazette on January 2013. So that will be all on my part. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you learned something from this video.